The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television. Major funding for the local production of Great Minnesota Parks West is provided by Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or a great location for an event. ExploreAlex.com. Pope County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, enhancing, promoting, and pursuing housing and economic opportunities throughout Pope County with integrity and dedication to excellence. Also funded in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Sioux Falls Tower and Communications.
The prairie is not flat, though it may seem so to the minds of folks zipping through it at 60 miles an hour. But to folks running tractors, tilling the ground with field cultivators to prepare a proper seed bed, watching to make sure the planter properly buries millions of seeds 1 or 2 inches below the ground. To those folks, the prairie is rolling land, a little up and a little down, a little later up and down again, acre after acre after acre after acre. But here and there the land changes. That change, be it a lake or a bluff or a bit of unplowed prairie, make the land special. And over time, Minnesota legislatures have decided to set that special land apart for all to experience, for all to enjoy, for all to appreciate. Five miles southwest of Starbuck on Highway 41, the specialness is glacial leftovers, one could say. Glacial Lakes State Park is a lesson in what glaciers leave behind. Kettles, eskers, moraines, and other geological stuff dot the park. Like many parks employees, Anita Henningsgaard is nuts about the park.
I love being outdoors and just, seeing the campers, and everybody gets all excited. I do night security. My favorite part is walking around, and I love going on the hike. Some of the trails out here are beautiful. If you love the prairie, you're a fan of the Dakotas, you'll love it out here. There's prairie out here to walk in. There's lots of hiking. I just like working here. I've always been interested in DNR, and I think it's a great way to just get outside and be with families and get to understand the nature and the idea of wildlife and why it's important that we keep it preserved. Glacier Lake is about 2,000 acres, a little less than 2,000. The main lake, Mountain Lake, is about 50 acres. There's 47 camping sites. That's including 4 backpacking, hiking ones. The closest one is about 1/8 of a mile. The furthest one is probably close to 2 miles. We have 4 cabins. 4 of them near the beach are year-round cabins. They have electricity, and then 2 up in the lower campground have no electricity. We have about 8 canoes, 4 kayaks, and 6 boats for rent, and then our 2 paddle boards are the newest. There is about 16 miles worth of hiking trails, and that includes mostly horseback riding and then just hiking trails on it. And then we have about a mile worth of interpretive trails, and then there's a mile hikers club trail that goes up to the highest point out by Oak Campground.
Yeah, our park is a volunteer organization. We organized when they were shutting down the parks, and we knew there was a need for the park to be open. We built a cabin here. This is before the state built theirs, the 4 that they put into each of the parks. We built one of the cabins. We've helped rake leaves. We have Easter egg hunts out here. Glacier Lakes is open year-round. It's a lot of activity in the wintertime. We've got four heated cabins that we use. People come from the cities and all over to cross-country ski when there's snow.
There's lots of things to do here at Glacier Lake State Park in the wintertime. We have 4 camper cabins that are available for rent. They do have electric heat, so you can stay and play here at Glacier Lakes. And then there's snowshoes for rent, so all sizes and styles. So you can go out and for $6 a day, you can go out and snowshoe. All the places that you've ever wanted to go that you couldn't go during the summer, which is a big advantage to coming out to Glacier Lake State Park or any state park during the winter time, is you don't have to stay on the trails. You can go to that swamp or to the marsh or that hill that you've always wanted to get to during the summer but couldn't get to.
We are setting up for our 3rd annual Candlelight event. This is the 3rd year. It's put on by our friends group here at the park. We have an excellent friends group that support us in a lot of ways and help us with a lot of our special events. So we're lighting about a half a mile of snowshoe trail tonight and approximately 1.5 miles to 2 miles of ski trail. We started making these ice candles here that's next to me. We made approximately 60 of those, and we lined the main entrance road coming into the park and then around the picnic shelter behind me here. Our friends group puts up tarps around our open shelter to help enclose it a little bit. And then they usually do hot cider and cocoa there along with some snacks, and then we have a bonfire down here. It's a great place to come out and have fun. It's usually pretty quiet during the week. There's always places to picnic and stuff during the day. The shelter here is always open for use, and you can have a campfire anytime you want. And there's firewood for purchase here at the park.
The transition from winter to summer is dramatic. White to green. Water folks walk on to water in which folks immerse themselves. But be it snowshoes or skis or paddleboards, when there's water involved, there's frequently something between the person and the water.
Okay, I might paddleboard. It's a big surfboard that you stand up on. So it's kind of a mixture of a surfboard and a canoe. And you just sit there and you paddle on either side. And you can stand, you could sit, you can lay down on it, you can really do anything you want on it. And it's just kind of another way of getting out there on the water. This year, I think, is the first year that we've had paddleboards in most state parks and everything. We just got it actually a week ago. So they were just starting them out and just starting to get people to know them and to get to use them. What's important is you want to make sure that the fins, there's 2 fins in the back of them. You want to make sure that they're in the deeper end of the water. You want to just kind of lay them in the water. There's a strap that you strap to your left leg, and then you get on them. A lot of people will start on their knees, and then they'll work their way up to standing, and you paddle just like a canoe, where you dig into the water and move, and it's all about the same way of directing as a paddle goes, as if you're on a canoe or a kayak. Just kind of go with the water. Paddleboards, why they're important on state parks, they're just another way for people to get out onto the rivers and the lakes that we have. Just a new activity to kind of get families to come to state parks for camping and just for the day, to get out on the waters and enjoy the wildlife and the nature of the state parks.
My favorite part of the park is probably over on the other side of the lake there in the swimming beach area where they have the camper cabins. And it's a great place to take the kids and go swimming. And you can hike from several different points from that area and that type of thing. So it's a good place to take the kids and picnic. It's a really neat place.
Yep, it is a really neat place, winter or summer, but some folks prefer, over all other seasons, fall, the most colorful time of year. Joy Heldman is a campground host for 3 state parks, all seasons of the year. She likes autumn best.
I am the campground host during the summer months, and we campground host at 3 different parks. And we start at Glacial Lake State Parks in May. And so we love the area, and my brother and I host together, and he loves birds. So in May and June, we have tons of birds in this park, and he spends several $100s every month just buying bird seed for the birds. So the birds are very popular here. The campground is built on a ridge because the glaciers are on either side, so both campgrounds, we have an upper and a lower, and they're both on a ridge. And then we like the terrain because of the hillies and the rolling mountains. They're not mountains, they're really hills. And I tell people it's a different kind of campground than you're used to seeing in the state of Minnesota. So that's what we like about it. Well, the leaves are really pretty, and the temperature is cooler, and there's no humidity, and the campgrounds are quieter. So that's nice.
Well, we like to come in the fall just because we like to, again, it's our anniversary, and being the time of the year, it's also a pretty time of the year. You know, you got the fall colors on the trees. That's what we look for, you know, to get out and enjoy the beauty.
We like going camping in the fall because we really enjoy the fall colors and the cooler temperatures. And on a day like today when it's blue sky and sunny and the colors are just beautiful, and it just is an enjoyable time. Just taking nice long leisurely walks. It's very enjoyable. I would come back to this park again, maybe in the winter time, but even maybe in the summertime when everything is green and pretty. I really like the size of the campground. It's just right size for us with not too many campsites. So yeah, I would come back.
It is an interesting puzzle that camper Terry Bach finds herself involved in, because Minnesota's parks and trails are amazing any time of year for almost any kind of person. For example, some folks aren't interested in the restful quiet of Glacial Lake State Park campgrounds. They want exercise. They want to cover a little land, go places, on their bicycles. And there are lots of places in Minnesota where folks can do just that. Many of them are former railroad rights-of-way, where trains tripped between towns before the highway system was built. The Central Lakes Trail starts, or ends, depending on which way you're pedaling, in Alexandria.
We're at the trailhead at Big Ole in Alexandria for the Central Lakes Trail, which runs from Fergus Falls to Osakis, Minnesota. How many riders? We all ready to go?
Ben Eckhoff is a naturalist for 3 Minnesota state parks and Central Lakes Trail. Once a month, he leads a bike ride along the Central Lakes Trail.
The Central Lakes Trail lays on the old railroad bed from the Burlington Northern Railroad. In 1992, the state purchased the land and started doing segments of the trail. And finally, in 2005, the 55-mile-long trail has been completed, and since gets used by bicyclists, strollers, walkers, inline skaters, runners of all types. So what can you see along the Central Lakes Trail? It's very nice to be able to take a bike ride along and see the remnants of the old native prairie that was there long before what we know it as now as the railroad or the trail. You can see lead plant, purple prairie clover, purple prairie coneflower. Lots of those native prairie remnants have been stored in the land for a long time, and with the right opportunities, whether from natural disasters or fires or mowing, has stimulated the growth of those plants, and you can see those as you're biking along the trail, especially west of Alexandria. Speaking of the butterfly, there's one right.
We don't have snakes like we used to.
Today, as a partnership with the Parks and Trails Division of the DNR, I did a program called Come Ride With Me. You ask the question as we're going, or if it justifies stopping, like that hawk did, then we will stop and look at the hawk, and you can ask questions, and I have field guides and things you can work with. But that's kind of the idea today, so if you have anything you want to know about, please just let me know, and we'll go from there. So, awesome. Thanks for coming, everybody. Once a month during the summer, from May through September, I lead a ride for casual and family riders. We start here in Alexandria and ride west towards Garfield. Each ride gets greater in difficulty or in length. As the trail is really flat, it doesn't really go up and down. It's not difficulty in terrain, but in distance. So today we bike ride about 12 miles. This bike rider event is free. You come with me, the naturalist here for the Alexandria area, and I will point things out to you along the way. And it's a chance for people to get out and ask questions about what they're seeing on the trail, ask a little bit about park or trail history, and all those questions about nature that they're seeing in the area that they've always wanted to know. So this is all, obviously we're riding on the old railroad bed. And so there was seeds. This was all native prairie at one point, but then we've introduced, along with the railroad and kind of changing some of that, and then the housing as well. But you can tell, like with the lead plant, the purple prairie clover, that stuff isn't really seeded. That stuff is here. It's been in the ground for a long time. And that's the one unique thing about areas is you turn over an area that hasn't been turned over before. That seed's been laying in the ground for 10, 20, 30, 50, whatever years, and just waits till it gets the right situation and it can come up. Looks like it's from the, back in the dinosaur age, yeah, for sure. But horsetail, segmented, very unique plants. Horsetail? There's a lot of bike clubs, but there's actually the Central Lakes Trail Association. They have a website, and they plan all the events, and so there's events on the Central Lakes Trail, different types of rides, and they try to cater to all difficulty or ability levels of riding where they're at, from beginners to, pretty advanced. Some hard work went into planning and gathering old photographs and historical information with the partnership of Douglas Historical Society to create these kiosks and maps for people at each of the 10 natural stopping points, which are those communities in the area. So each community that you go through now, as of the spring, there's one of these placards, and they all look basically identical except for the information, so you can pick out that it belongs here with the Central Lakes Trail. They have the nice distance markers, so because there's not real good mile markers along the trail, you can tell if you get down here at Garfield, and I want to go to Alexandria, down and over, it's about 8 miles. So my favorite spot on the trail is the section from Alexandria going west towards Garfield. The reason it's my favorite is that you're going through and you're starting by Big Ole in Alexandria and at Field City, and within about the first half mile you exit that and enter right into the mixed hardwood forest and lakes, some wetlands, and then you go into that prairie area. So this is a very nice ride of diversity through that about 10-mile stretch from Alexandria to Garfield, where you can see a variety of plants and animals in their natural habitats. The Central Lakes Trail is a great opportunity for local or visitors to come out and ride on a trail where you're not riding right on the shoulder of a major highway or county road. And you get off and you get to see a lot of the lakes and the streams and prairies and rolling hills that are off in the distance that you can enjoy. And it feels like you're just taking a stroll through the woods on your bike, but yet you're very close to roads at most points because they parallel. But there's a nice buffer there, so you can ride from community to community. And it's a great way for people to get out and get some exercise and enjoy the scenery.
Ben Eckhoff might have added that the trail is much flatter than the surrounding roads, and it's away from road traffic. What he didn't say is how he enjoys teaching folks about our natural surroundings. That's one of the goals of the folks who run Minnesota's state parks and trails. They want to show us what grew here before we came. Like that little hillside 7 miles south of Pipestone on Minnesota Highway 23. Back in 1938, that little hillside showed native prairie. That prairie piece drew folks who lived nearby. They walked here and appreciated the rarity of the native prairie, so they petitioned the Minnesota legislature to make a park. In 1938, the legislature teamed up with Depression-era work groups to dam up nearby Split Rock Creek. That made the only lake in Pipestone County. Near that lake was the Prairie Patch, a little hillside too rocky to be turned into a farm field. The lake and the prairie became the jewels in the crown of a quiet Split Rock Creek State Park. Deb Reek is an enthusiastic park worker at Split Rock Creek State Park.
What you see behind me and this hill, we call it Prairie Hill. It has never been cultivated, okay? Not that a foreign alien grass or plant hasn't gotten in there, but we do our best then to remove it because we really, really want this to be as authentic like our forefathers who settled southwest Minnesota would have found. And the wildflowers then, the native flowers, are just absolutely fantastic. And when they start coming up through the months, through the weeks, about every 5 to 7 days, the color of the hill will change. So I've seen it go from a light pink to a yellow, to a lavender with the bergamot, then to more yellow, a different plant, and now it's to blue stem with the blazing star purple again. And all the time, the grasses that come up, they don't flower maybe, but their greens are different. The milkweed plant, we know many people think that's a weed, but we all know that it is the only plant that the monarch butterfly survives on and with. And so we protect them around here. We have 2 kinds here. You'll see them as you walk around the park. Now they're about 5 feet tall, and we're always pretty excited when the butterflies, are here.
The park started by a local group who was walking the creek one day, and that was back in 1934, and they thought this would be a great lake to dam up, and so they went to legislation and got that passed to make a dam in the park. And then in 1938 they went through legislation again and actually made it a state park. So I just wanted to add that those were volunteers back in 1934 that did that, and still today volunteers make this park.
Up until this year, for the past several years, we were campground hosts for a month each year. It's quiet, it's small enough that it's personable. You can get to know a lot of the campers in one evening. Everybody seems to be like one big family, and everybody's very trusting.
Today at the park, we had horseback riders from the local area, Pipestone, and they came out to the park to ride our 9 miles of horse trail. It's very relaxing, and once again, the bugs aren't going to bother you on your horseback.
Our horse trail has just been developed over the last few years. You bring your horse with you. There is a place to park your trailer. We have a hitching bar for the horses, and you start out. You go through, some slough and through Split Rock Creek State, or through the park, and that's pretty fun, just to go through the water on horses.
One of the historical places of the park is the historical bridge that's actually on a county road right outside the park. It is in the federal historical bridges. It was built also by the WPA in 1934 along with the dam. It's a beautiful bridge.
The highest point is our well house, which we call our well house up there. That's a lookout. We have a bench up there, and you see for probably 4 miles in any direction from sitting up there. That's a nice one. I think personally, when you're standing on the dam and it's sundown and you are looking west, now you probably are looking 9 or 10 miles that you can see to the west. And that, of course, is a beautiful, beautiful spot too. But just to think for myself that this is what my forefathers saw when they came out here, and to have something from the past that we can take care of and pass on is just, yeah, this is my favorite spot. I really think people should visit this park if they are wanting a place of quiet and peace, in a relaxed atmosphere. You need to come to this park. Just sit at the dam, walk over the bridge, sit at our benches along the trail, and just look out over the lake, and just take that time. If you want a place to just relax and rest, reflect, re-energize, then you want to come here. And when you feel like you need something to do, jump in the lake, grab a pole, get in the boat, then you can be active. But that's what I tell people. They need a place for quiet reflection and peaceful. They want to come to Split Rock Creek.
Quiet reflection, peace, camping, bicycling, and so much more. When it comes to being outdoors any time of year, there's not much that can beat Minnesota's great state parks and trails.
Major funding for the local production of Great Minnesota Parks West is provided by Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or a great location for an event. ExploreAlex.com. Pope County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, enhancing, promoting, and pursuing housing and economic opportunities throughout Pope County with integrity and dedication to excellence. Also funded in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Sioux Falls Tower and Communications.